Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and this is a very special occasion for the Nightly News because this will be one of the first all-student-led podcasts. I will be passing the hosting duties over to Tyler Coleman and Dylan Kleintop. I just want to give everybody a quick overview as far as what's going on. So in the podcast today, you are going to hear from several of our Central Penn Knights men's baseball players as they finished up their 2019 season. First, we're going to be joined by Connor Graham, one of the most dynamic offensive and defensive players on the team. And we're going to sit down with Connor and talk a little bit more about how he ended up at Central Penn College and reflecting on the season that was. So I'm going to kick it over to Dylan Kleintop, the Vice President of the Nightly News, and Tyler Coleman for this podcast. Take it away, guys.
Hello, Connor. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, so we all know that you had one of the leading base percentages, one of the leading batting averages, home runs, hits. You were just doing it all this year. But for the people that don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you like to do?
I'm Connor Graham, obviously. I'm from Southern Maryland, right around the Annapolis area. I went to high school in Northern High School in Northern Calvert County. And played baseball there all 4 years. JV my first year, got brought up for playoffs, and then was varsity for all 3 years. Then from there, I went to a Division III school in Virginia, and then from there I went to Anne Arundel Community College just outside of Annapolis, and then I found myself here playing for Coach Stern for this season, and I planned on finishing my bachelor's degree here for the next season as well.
And what made you choose Central Penn? What made you want to come here and play baseball for Coach Stern?
What made me want to come here was Coach Hitz was actually recruiting me before I actually committed to any school. And I remembered the interest here of Central Penn. I remember touring this school back before I even made any decisions as to where to go. And I liked the little campus. It seemed like a close-knit community, and it seemed like a lot of school pride here when I was talking to some alumni over that weekend. And I considered other schools, and Central Penn seemed like a very good fit for me, and that's why I ended up choosing here.
Probably like the last non-baseball question I have is, what do you plan to do after you graduate?
After graduating here at Central Penn, I plan on pursuing an MBA, and then also I am in the works, and the reason why I have such a big marketing program on the Twitter is because I'm trying to make a profile for myself to go beyond just collegiate baseball and possibly professionally, internationally. So that's why I focus so much on building and marketing my profile.
Yeah, we all see you on Twitter. I mean, when I wrote the Student Athlete of the Month, as you can see here, that was one of my last sentences was, Graham also is considered the Twitter warrior among his friends. If you can't catch a game or know what's going on, just check Connor's Twitter. He will keep you informed. Just a quick question here, and then I'll pass it over to Tyler. You know, even though the team's record was 8-14, what are some positives that you can take away from the season?
The big takeaways from the season was I thought we hit really well as a team. Just right, in the beginning, we had many of the teams who were right there with them. Just as the game would go on, because of our short depth on our pitching roster and on the team, we played most of the season with just 11 guys. So that was a very big holdback on us. And it was just very difficult because in the beginning of the games, the game's 5-2 or whatever, it's all close, we're competing. But once they start hitting our starter, okay, we got to bring someone else in. And there's our depth. A lot of the times we'd be putting a position player in to finish it when you need a pitcher, you need a relief pitcher. That's just something we don't have on the roster. But I've been talking with Stern throughout the season. He keeps reassuring us that he's bringing in more pitchers for the next season. So I got a lot of high hopes for that.
All right. Hi, Connor. Tyler Coleman here. Great to have you on the podcast. So to kind of piggyback off of Dylan's question, with the way the season went up and down, was there anything in particular that kind of stood out to you this season, or maybe something that you thought maybe you could do better or improve on?
The big thing first is I say we need to grow the roster size. That's the clear as day. But beyond that, we clicked really well as a team. I feel like the guys got together very well. In the beginning, I kind of felt like I was just somebody who just showed up, but then finally I became one of the guys, and we all started to click. There's a lot of camaraderie that we have with the team, and that's something that we can definitely build off of next year. It's just going to be a little tough, though, because we got a lot of fresh new guys coming in. and we're going to have to get them in sync with all of that. And we're losing possibly a couple of good guys, team captains, but we'll just have to work with that and see where we can go.
So I know Professor Miller and I talked about this a lot on the live streams that we did about kind of like the video game numbers that you put up this season. Do you think maybe you did anything different this season, maybe compared to seasons in the past?
Definitely. And the biggest thing for me is I focused a lot more on my mental game this season. A lot of the times through my past seasons, I would lose focus through halfway the season or something and just kind of fall off. But this season, I was able to stay focused a lot more this season. And that's something that I've always thought was the mental game's a very significant part and something that's overlooked. Everyone just thinks it's physical, but to be able to get through these long seasons and these grinds, you got to stay mentally focused through it. So that was the big change for me this season, and clearly it was a success because this best season I've ever had in my career.
And going off of what Tyler just said, the video game numbers, let me just read off some of Connor's stats here. .412 batting average, second on the team. .438 on-base percentage, third on the team. .658 slugging percentage, second on the team. 5 home runs, second on the team. 27 RBIs, first on the team. And 8 stolen bases, second on the team. We talked a little bit earlier, you have all these numbers. You didn't want to pitch this year? What's going on with that? You don't want to be a pitcher?
I'd love to have a college debut. It's just coach didn't need me yet for the arm. Maybe next season you might see me have my debut on the mound. It's something we can anticipate.
And what kind of pitches can we anticipate?
Fastball.
So outside of pitching, is there any other positions maybe that you primarily like to play?
Obviously the outfield, and the other position I'd be willing to play for coach would be second base because I started my season there last year at Anne Arundel Community College. But in all honesty, I was there mainly just for my bat. So I'm just best in the outfield and at the plate.
Like we stated, there have kind of been, some up and down games this season. After losing a game, how do you feel like you can stay motivated looking forward to the next game?
That game's in the past, and you just got to keep looking forward. There's no time to dwell on the past. What is that? You can't change the past. All you can worry about is today and in the future. So you just got to do everything you can do to prepare yourself to move on. Yes, you can look back in the past and see what you did wrong, analyze it, and learn from it. But beyond that, you need to keep looking forward.
I think you have a career change in mind. Motivational speaker. That's some pretty good quotes right there.
There's plan B if I need it.
So actually, with the motivation talk right there, is there any advice maybe that somebody gave you that really stands out to you in your career?
One of the big ones that stood out to me was actually my mother. When I was younger, there were things that I try and do, and then it's the famous line of "I can't." And when my mom made it very significant to me, she said, "Well, with that attitude, you can't or you won't." And so that kind of stuck to me. So I've tried to change the I can'ts and the negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And I feel like throughout my life and my baseball career, my academic career, that you need to block out all those negative thoughts and just focus on the positive, because negative does nothing to benefit you. At least, when you're thinking positive, you can benefit yourself some.
Now that we're basically in the off season, looking ahead, you have a whole year just about until next season. So could you tell me what your off season in particular looks like? What do you try to do to keep in shape?
Well, the first thing is there's going to be a lot of weight room time and a lot of steak dinners to put on that weight and muscle. But beyond that, this May and June, I'll be playing for my travel team back at home, Maryland RBI. And then in July, I'll be headed to Spain and Scotland to play for the AAU International Collegiate Team.
So I assume you're taking off next term. We won't be seeing you on campus?
Correct. I will not be here in the summer campus. I may come back and visit for that pool party and laser tag, but I won't be here much.
Well, I won't be here either. So how did you find Spain and Scotland? I mean, you said AAU. Have you played for them before? Have you traveled internationally before?
Yes, this will be my, I believe, 5th season out in Europe. My first season I was out with Planet Baseball. We went to the Czech Republic and Germany. And then for 2 seasons after that, I was out with the Collegiate Baseball League of Europe. We traveled from England to Spain to France to the Netherlands and Belgium. And we played round robins all in those areas. And then last year I was out with AAU International, and we played in Scotland and Ireland. And then this year we're traveling to Spain and Scotland. And this all obviously has to do with my my plans of international competition and professionally. This is something to put on the resume to show that I can compete against international competition. And it's just fun to explore the world. I like to think of baseball as being a vehicle. It's gotten me to places where most people aren't able to go to in their entire lives. And I've been to over 12 countries. And I'm being able to see the world all because of just playing baseball, the game I love.
And how long is this trip, and will we be seeing any tweets about the outcomes of the games?
Yeah, you'll be seeing tweets, of course. This trip will be 12 days long. We spend 5 in Scotland and 5 in Spain, and obviously the 2 other days are the travel days.
On these international trips, have you ever met any professional players or players that eventually became professionals?
Yes, I've come across them, but I do not remember their names exactly, but I've been informed that they have played professionally. One of the Cavalier coaches back in my first year with the CBLE was a ex-MLB coach and player. I believe he was a pitcher. I do not remember his name, but yes, I've been around some of the MLB players before.
That's pretty good. I just can't wait for the tweets.
So as just kind of talking, it seems like you've played baseball all around the world almost. What would be one of the coolest cities maybe you think you've played baseball in?
The coolest city I played baseball in, I would say, it was La Rochelle, France. And that's because it's I believe, an 18th century castle. It's all the city and the harbor is all surrounded by a castle wall. France is absolutely beautiful at that time of year in July. We actually got to go there during their Bastille Day, their Independence Day. So we get to watch fireworks and celebrate it with France and just experience their culture. I think that was one of the more fun places to go to.
And which game of your whole playing career do you remember the most? Like, what's the most memorable game that you've had? Most
likely Montalto game with the back-to-back home runs. That definitely felt good. To come around on that second game and turn the day entire 180, it felt good.
So of your whole playing career, you're going to look back on the Montalto game as the most memorable game with the back-to-back home runs that you've ever had?
One of them. There's obviously others in there that I look back to, but one that's obviously most relatable to this school and one that people will know of, yes, the Montalto game.
And do you have one hit or one home run that you're going to remember the most? Because I got one in my mind.
I do have one that is the one against Penn State Schuylkill, that absolute tank over the left field wall. It felt good. One of the first no-doubter I ever had, one of the feelings that you always hear guys talk about, but I actually got to experience, and it felt good. It felt really good to hit that tank right over that wall.
So next season when you hit a home run, are we going to see a bat flip?
Yeah, if I can keep doing this consistently, I might be able to be a little bit better at knowing if a ball's going to go out and give a little bit more fancy bat flips, yeah.
So with a lot of the experiences that you've talked about, is there any way that you would want your teammates to kind of remember you by, or kind of like how you carry yourself?
Professional. That's something that would resonate the most with me, is my professionalism. I don't lose my character a whole lot. I try to keep it very nice and clean, and just an overall good guy. Hardball player, a good guy, someone who's relatable, someone who you can get along with, and someone who's professional. Those are the things that I want my teammates and the people here at Central Penn to remember me as.
You're obviously a dynamic and great offensive player, but what do you think you can improve on defensively?
Throwing. My throwing is definitely one of my weaker points, and that all goes to the whole mental aspect. I know I can throw well. I've had good throws throughout the season. I got a strong arm. It's just I stress too much. I think too much. I might squeeze the ball a little too much, and it all compounds into a bad throw. It's something I think too much about, and that's the problem. Baseball is one of those sports that the more you think, the worse you'll do. It's a more reactive game. You just got to do it and not think twice about it, and that's something, part of my mental side, like I said. I have no problem with the physicality of throwing a baseball. It's the mental side that's what affects me. So that's something I'm obviously going to stress more on this offseason and really fine-tune so I can maybe hose out some guys at home plate next season.
Do you also play outfield for your AAU team as well?
Yes, I play outfield for the AAU team. I'm the starting center fielder for my international team, yes.
So you can work on your throwing in the offseason, too, against some of those speedy foreign guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, speaking for myself, like this was one of the first seasons we got to do the live streaming of the baseball games. When you guys are out there playing, is there any maybe different mindset knowing that you're playing on camera in front of people, or is it kind of just, go about your business and do what you got to do?
Majority of the time, it's do what you got to do. But then in the back of your mind, you also know if I hit this tank, I'm going to be able to post it on social media for the marketing and for the likes. But
if you strike out, everyone's going to see it.
Oh well, but hey, people remember the tanks, not the strikeouts. What Babe Ruth had so many home runs, but twice as many strikeouts, but we only remember him for the home runs. So at the end of the day, that's what the people are going to be knowing and remembering.
So going off of Tyler's question about the live stream, how do you think the Nightly News live streaming your baseball games helps with recruiting and other forms of the baseball?
It helps immensely with the recruiting. It allows coaches and MLB recruiters and professional international coaches to put a name to the face, and match it. That's Connor Graham. Here's some of his hitting footage. I don't have to have someone standing there videotaping my at-bat for me to have something. You guys do it for us. And that definitely helps with the marketing, so I can post those things up and get my name out there and make myself something. And then besides the marketing side, it helps with analyzing my at-bats. I can go back and let's say I remember I have a bad at-bat and I want to go back and see what I did wrong. I can go back and I see, I probably shouldn't have swung at that pitch, or I should have been more aware of the count and have known that, hey, this was a 2-0 count. I should have been hunting that fastball and not whiffing at that curve. And it's just able to go back and learn from these mistakes and these things, or to even go back and see what you did well, and then to perfect that even more and make sure you repeat that in the next at-bats. So that's something that I am definitely thankful for that you guys do, and I hope that you continue it next season. I think that's a very smart move on your guys' part to start live streaming our games.
You said earlier before we got on the podcast, you and your dad talk about the game a lot. He brings up the box score, how you did. Do you find your dad watching the live stream or watching the videos and kind of critiquing your game?
I don't think they really watch the live stream a whole lot, but that's mainly because, they work during the week. And, my dad can't be sitting behind the desk, doing all his work and then having that up on the screen or something. But every now and then they'll both, look into the box scores and stuff like that. And then after, obviously, I can show them, I can cut the video and send it to them in the group chat so they can all see it. My father doesn't really try and do too much critiquing anymore at this point because we are kind of beyond his knowledge of the skills. But he's always definitely been a rock and someone to help me with my mental side and keep me focused. And that is a change for me this season, not having the access to him as much to be able to talk to him about after the games and what happened, what I could have done different, or this and that, and just the outcomes, and just to simply talk about it. That's something been a little bit different this year that I've been missing on some, but you just got to find a way through it and just keep chugging.
So you just touched base there on talking with your father about advice and different stuff throughout the season. Is there any advice maybe that you could give to younger children hoping to play in college someday?
Never stop dreaming. Very cliche, I know. But for me, and I'm sure it works for other people, that my biggest motivator is setting goals. And when you set yourself a goal, you have, you're working towards something. And the next step is finding out how to get yourself there. And so something my father has always told me is set a goal and work backwards from it. Okay, so if I want to play international baseball professionally, first you got to start, from there you got to get the signing and then work back from that. How do I get a signing? Well, I need to have exceptional stats. I need to play collegiate baseball, and I need to get an international resume built. So now I got to hunt down these international teams to play for. I got to go to college and have an exceptional year. I land one of these teams, I start playing for them, and you just start working back. And that dream, that goal came to fruition my junior year in high school. And that's something I knew I wanted to do since then. And every year we reassess the plan, is what my father and I call it. We reassess the plan and figure out, all right, what do we need to do to get myself there? Because clearly my plan has changed multiple times. I was planning on going to the school in Virginia all 4 years and then from there going out. Well, I'm not there anymore. I'm here now. So clearly the plan has had to change multiple times. But you just keep, fine-tuning it and figuring out the best way to get there. And so to sum it up, the best advice is set goals and keep dreaming and do everything you can to pursue them. I don't think, there's anything out of reach for us. We just got to keep what you believe in, do what you believe in, and pursue it.
We're going to conclude this interview here with Connor Graham. Connor, thank you so very much for joining us today. There's no doubt about it that even though we are losing some important seniors, you are going to be back. Jared, Quinton, Christian, and Chris are going to be back next year. So at a minimum, you have a really good core. If you can get some more players in there, I mean, there's no way that you aren't going to be competitive. And I thank you for your comments about the nightly news. We appreciate it. We really tried hard. We learned a lot this year from our second year, and it's only just going to get better next year. We're going to do more games. So we're really, really looking forward to continuing to be a part of the Central Penn Knights men's baseball team. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, I have to thank Tyler, Dylan. You're doing a project with the baseball team, from doing the games and writing the stories about them now to the follow-up. You're going to be doing a story that's going to go along with this podcast that sort of wraps up the season, and we look forward to reading that. And I just can't thank you guys enough for all of your hard work with the baseball season. So thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's been a blast.
Cool. All right, well, we will be back with another Central Penn Knight, Gabe Arellano. And welcome back to the Nightly News Podcast. This is a very special episode on the Nightly News that features two of our students interviewing several of the members of the Central Penn Knights men's baseball team. Next up will be senior Gabe Arellano, who has unfortunately played his last game for Central Penn College. So the gentlemen are going to take a look back at the season that was. Dylan?
Hey, Gabe, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So you're known amongst your fellow players and peers as the speedster. You had you had 10 stolen bases first on the team. You had a .324 batting average as the leadoff hitter or the second hitter. Am I correct?
Yes.
You had a .418 on base percentage, a .397 slugging percentage, and 11 RBIs. So what was your takeaway of the season? How do you think you performed?
I think this year, out of all the 4 years that I've been here, was probably my best year at batting average. That's what I think. And then I think all around this year was just a good season for me. I'm humbled. I'm very honored to be here for the last time as a Knight. But yeah, it was a good season.
So you had 10 stolen bases, and that leads the team in stolen bases. Now let me ask you something. When you're on first base or second base, and you look across, you're looking at the pitcher, you're looking at Coach Stern. Does Coach Stern tell you to steal, or sometimes you just say, I'm just going to do it because I know the pitcher? What goes through your head when you're about to steal?
I do look at Coach. I do look at the pitcher as well, but more often than not, Coach will tell me to steal. And then, what was funny, last game of the season against Clark Summit University, Coach Stern grabbed me and was like, "Yo, if I go like this, he gave me a hand motion, and he said, if you go like this, go." He didn't do that the last stolen base that I had all year. I just went on myself. And it was I was at second, and the guy, I just read the pitcher brilliantly. Like, as soon as he broke, I just left, and I was gone. It was robbed. And then Chris, also Rosario, he's a slow guy too. He actually made it second base as well. So it was actually cool.
So is there ever a moment when you're running from first to second, and you're like, I might not make it? Like, do you ever look back and say, I might not make it, I might be called out?
Yeah, all the time. Like, if you see me look back, it's like, oh man, I am gonna get hosed right here. Yeah, like, if you see me look back all the time, it's probably most often than not I just got a really bad jump, because once I start, I break down, look down, I look down as soon as I break. So if I look away and I'm looking down, it's looking pretty rough.
So looking at the season, you guys are 8-14 this season. It's not the best record that Central Penn's ever had, but I'm sure it's certainly not the worst record. You guys missed the playoffs last season by like a game or two. This season wasn't so well. So how do you think the team as a whole did despite the 8-14 record?
I think we reunited as a team. The first couple of games we weren't playing as well. I think the last couple, like 7-8 games, we were really clicking on all cylinders. The last week or two was kind of rough on our arms because we only had 12 guys, 13 guys or so. So it was kind of rough at that little patch of 7 or 8 games at the end. But other than that, I think we did really well.
So what can we expect from Mr. Arellano for the future?
Mr. Arellano, that's a good ring to it. But I think I'm going to be state trooper or a K-9 unit, or a local K-9 unit for sure. I'm going to enter the academy as soon as I graduate here. Yeah, I'm just gonna be a cop. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna be. I'm ready.
So are you playing baseball this summer?
I'm gonna take the summer off, regroup, everything. Just try to get in shape again. Not in the best shape that I've ever been. I think this is the worst shape I've been in a while. But yeah, just try to do me, get ready for my future first.
Do you plan to play any like international ball? Because I know last year was it you went down south to play and you played there all summer. Do you plan to do that again?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to do that after, maybe in 2 summers from now. Not this coming, but the next following one. I'm just, like, again, I'm not ready. I'm not physically ready for all that. Like, this season took a toll on my body for sure. Like, I'm still sore from 3 days ago.
Hey, Gabe, great to have you on the podcast today. Professor Miller kind of touched base on it here with the opening, saying that with you being a senior and, playing your last games here at Central Penn, as the nightly news, we got to live stream your last home game during the senior recognition day. Can you kind of explain how you felt going through that ceremony and being out on the field with your family, knowing that this was your last season playing for Central Penn?
Yeah, that was very emotional for me and my mom and my grandmother. They've both always been there for me since I was a kid. Every day, all the games. If they couldn't make it, they would look at they would look at the nightly news. And I told them, I give them the link. Even my uncle from Puerto Rico, he would even go watch the games as well. And it was really cool. And I was very emotional. That last game at home was cool.
Yeah, I think it's been a pretty great season, though, even though it was kind of up and down. During your time here at Central Penn, can you kind of look back on and say that you've had like a favorite game you played in, or maybe some favorite memories that you can look back on?
I want to say my favorite memory was probably that walk-off this year. That walk-off was actually really cool. I mean, we kind of lost it at the end there, but that walk-off coming in, I was hoping it would be me with that double, but I at least came through with that clutch 2-out hit.
Yeah, because I remember standing there next to you and Brian, and you're like, if Quinton gets on, it's over. Quinton got on, then you hit a double, and then I think the next bat Quinton was thrown out at home or whatever. So just to be able to stand next to you and be like, if this is what happens, this is the outcome of the game. So that was pretty cool from a fan's perspective.
So we kind of touched base on this yesterday with Connor about asking how it felt to play, knowing that we were live streaming the game and that you guys were on camera. Did that kind of affect your mindset at all when you were out there playing?
No, I don't think so. I'm really into the game, so really I'm not really looking at the cameras or anything. Just trying to play my best baseball that I could possibly bring for the Knights.
Yeah, you don't really focus about the fans when you're on the field.
No, maybe my girlfriend. That's pretty much it, though.
You gotta focus on her.
Yeah, gotta look good for her,
So just a question here about the program itself. Well, you started back in 2016, right?
Yeah.
How do you think the program as a whole has changed from when you started 3 years ago until now?
Well, the first year, I think we only won 4 games, I think, and it wasn't the worst record that Central Penn ever had, but it was out of my 4 years was the worst record we had. And I think the programs has been coming up. I think it's in good hands with Stern. Coach Stern has a lot of good guys coming in next year, and I think it's gonna be a good program still for a while.
Yeah, because if you look at it, there's only two seniors graduating. You have a core group of players coming back next year. That's your whole starting lineup. Just add a couple players and you'll be good.
Whenever you guys would lose a game, and I know we, at live streaming some of them, we kind of saw some tough games that you guys took. How were you able to stay confident after losing some of those tough games?
I think our mentality has to be the main reason why we're still winning games and we're still focused on the next game, because we know we don't have the team the pitching. We don't have the pitching we can out hit another team, but we can't. We just didn't have the pitching. So I think coming in, seeing after losing a game, having Quinton pitch, that's always a good boost, a confident boost for everybody, because we know he's going to be there and he's going to pitch well for us.
We had some players step up this year that might not have made an impact last year, like Jared Rivera. You had some players this year that didn't make an impact this year that did last year, like Christian Fulp. How can a player like Fulp get out of that funk and a player like Rivera stay in that funk? What's your advice to them?
I always tell them to just keep their composure and just to keep their head up, because baseball, you'll fail 90% of the time, but your success is you're failing from lower than 200, I think it is, and anything higher than 200 is good. So just keep their head up and just see the next pitch, and you'll be good. Like, that's really what I always tell the guys.
So is that what when you had a night where you just didn't get a hit? Let's say you went 0 for 4, 0 for 5. It was a doubleheader. That was the first game. Is that what you would tell yourself for the next game? I got to keep my head up. I got to get some hits on the leadoff. I got to get on base.
Yeah, I always told myself just to keep the composure for sure, because that's the reason why you have to have success, is to keep your confidence up and everything like that, and to keep your head up.
Because you're a senior, they look up to you. If you lose your
Exactly.
composure, everyone else is going to lose their composure.
Exactly.
Do you have any future plans with coaching? Maybe a baseball coach in the future?
I think I could be a really good coach, actually. I think coming here at Central Penn and my experience at the JUCO D2 at Cecil Community College really helped me out there too.
So with Dylan pointing out some of the statistics that you had this season, and overall I would say you did very well, is it safe to say that you reached the goals that you set for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. This year, I definitely, after last year's down year, I definitely wanted to have a better year this year. And going to Puerto Rico really helped me a lot there. I think my swing changed. Shout out to my uncle from Puerto Rico. He really helped me a lot, completely. He completely changed my swing. My swing was a lot better this year, and it showed.
So what exactly did you get to do there while you were in Puerto Rico?
Well, I got to spend a lot of family, see a lot of family, see a lot of things, see where my mom grew up at. But from the baseball perspective, I think we went to a lot of baseball games. I played a lot. I played at least 60 games maybe.
You're a baseball player. A lot of baseball players on your team that I've talked to don't actually watch baseball at all. I know you definitely watch baseball. Do you have a favorite player?
Yeah, Brett Gardner. I looked up to Brett Gardner since I was a kid.
Why?
Because he's a scrapper. He's a scrappy player, man. And he was there at the 2009 World Series for the Yankees there. And I think he never got a chance. He never got recruited heavily. He never got a chance to be he got his scholarship, I think, 3 months into the season. He never got a baseball scholarship when he went to college. And I think I never got that chance either. And I've always told myself, I think I could do that. I could be the type of guy that is undrafted or well, he was drafted, but you know what I'm saying? I think I could just scoot right into a team and just help that team.
So please don't tell me you're a Yankees fan.
Absolutely.
A couple quick questions before we go here. You said you're not in any kind of shape to play this summer, but what does your typical off-season training look like for, players that want to make the college level but maybe don't train at the highest level? What would you give your advice to your type of off-season training?
Okay, well, this summer I will be training with my good friend Bill Sierra. He is a trainer back down in Lancaster, and usually I would go down to LA Fitness, but he got his own little warehouse thing with just working out, stuff like that. So that when I go home, that's where I usually do my off-season training, is at LA Fitness. We'll do some weightlifting, and then we'll do some cardio, play basketball for a couple hours and stuff, and then we'll call it a day. So basically, that's pretty much what I do.
Are you going to look into watching some Aroldis Chapman film? And we know you got a save on the season. Maybe you could get maybe you pitch in a couple of years and you get some more saves, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'm a pitcher anymore. I think my pitching days are done over. But that save was really cool to end the season, though. That was really cool.
So I do have to ask you here, Gabe, going out as a senior, how do you want your teammates to look back at you and remember you as?
Honestly, I just want them to reflect on what my past was and stuff like that. And just have them remember me as a guy that always fought to stay on the field and always try to be the best he can to have good outcome on the field.
Good enough. Thank you very much, Gabe Arellano, for coming on the show here on the Nightly News Podcast. Of course, Gabe graduated, is finishing up this term, and has played his last days for the Central Penn Knights, but will definitely go down as one of the best players in Knights history. There's no question about that. And again, we congratulate you on being Athlete of the Month for the month of April. So, hey, one thing, Gabe, that you can always remember, you can always go back on YouTube and relive the glory days for the rest of your life. So that'll be there forever. All right. We will be back with the Nightly News podcast on the special edition with Christian Fulp.
Hi, this is Brian Christiana. Thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast, a part of the Nightly News Media Club here at Central Penn College.
Welcome back to a very special edition of the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we're here today with Dylan Kleintop and Tyler Coleman, and they're interviewing a bunch of different guys from the baseball team. So far, we've heard Connor Graham and Gabe Arellano. Next up is junior shortstop and ace pitcher Christian Fulp. So I'm going to turn it over to Dylan.
Good afternoon. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So I'm just going to read over a few of your stats, even though you told me not to. Not a good year batting average. I'm going to give you a 180 batting average. You said it's a little higher. We'll go with what you said, a little higher. You had 5 RBIs, 5 stolen bases. For pitching, you were 3 for 3, 3 wins, 3 losses. You had 20 strikeouts. And this is a notable fact for everyone to hear. In the 3 seasons that Christian has played, he's had 124 at-bats with 2 strikeouts. How do you do that? How do you only strike out twice? What goes through your head when you're up at the plate?
Well, I know that a strikeout would be detrimental to my team, and I don't really think about that. But when I'm in the batter's box, I just want to hit the ball every time, because if you put the ball in play, then good things happen. So I just do what I can.
And we've talked outside of here, outside of baseball. I've asked you a few questions, but for everyone listening to the podcast, what do you think was the biggest downfall of the season?
The biggest downfall would definitely be the lack of pitching. Our guys played hard every game, and it just came down to pitching, definitely, because when you get into the later innings and the later games in the season, you need pitchers, and we didn't have that many this year besides me and Quinton, so it was hard for us, but we made it through. We did pretty decent.
Because, we did have the offensive firepower. If you look at the top 6 guys in the lineup, they're all batting well over 250, well over 275. So,
yeah.
The offensive was there. It's just defensive. You and Quentin can't go complete games all the time?
Definitely. We did, though. I think Quentin had 4 complete games. I think I had 3. And I think out of all 8 wins, me and Quentin had 6 of them. So it was difficult, but we definitely made it through. We did pretty well.
Team aside, how do you think you did personally?
Well, me, I always want to do better. But I think I did all right. My job this year was to keep the guys together and keep them unified. So I think I did a pretty good job. I always kept my head up. Last season, I did better batting average wise and fielding wise. But definitely, when it comes to being a leader, I definitely think I stepped up this year.
And what can we look forward to from Mr. Fulp for the years to come? Because you have told me that you're going to be a multi-sport athlete next year.
Definitely.
You mentioned soccer once or twice, basketball, baseball. Are we actually going to see Mr. Fulp in every single men's sport next season?
You definitely might. You got to stay tuned to that. Soccer might be a question. It might be a good question. But basketball, I'm definitely going to play basketball because I'll be interning that season. And so definitely a dual sport athlete will be coming soon.
I hope we do. That'd be a great thing to see.
Hey, Christian, it's great to have you on the podcast here today. Getting to spend some time around you, you seem like you have a pretty good personality. You always seem to be pretty happy. So I have to ask you, how do you stay motivated after you guys lose a tough game?
I stay motivated by simply being the person I am. I know that every day is a great day, and when I wake up, I need to be the best man I could be. When you take a loss or a hard loss, you just need to bounce back and just, the guys, they keep me up, definitely. I know that sometimes I'm looked to be as the leader, but as a leader, you have a whole bunch of guys behind you, and they're there to pick you up as well. So when they pick me up, I'm here to do what I need to do.
When the Nightly News got to live stream some of the games, one thing we noticed is you guys do look like a pretty closely knit group. Is there anything you can look back on and say, well, there was one particular area that you or the team did really well in?
I would say what we did well in was being together. We look like we're having fun and we're having a lot of laughs and stuff like that, but when it came down to the games, we were all ready to play the games. Our coach does a good job at keeping us all on the same page, and he's just like us. He's one of the guys. He's a great guy. We all have fun, and we definitely know how to have fun. So when you have fun, playing baseball just comes right behind that, and you just play a good game. we definitely all had a great season, and it's a bunch of great group of guys.
So we look back on last year. You guys missed the tournament by a game or two. You look back on the year before you made the tournament. This year, you missed the tournament by a lot. So what do you think was like the turning point of the season where you're like, all right, we're not going to make the tournament. We're just going to have fun. When do you think that was?
I believe that was after like the first like half of the season when me and Quinton pitched in majority of the games. But like after that point, I believe that we were just like, all right, guys, like this is definitely a rebuilding year because everybody on the team said that we have 2 pitchers, and we knew that. But with 2 pitchers, you can't really do much or expect to go to a small college World Series and play in 6 games, win, and be in the winning bracket. So we just figured we could rebuild this year, keep the enthusiasm up, and then boom, move on to next year. So
how many pitches do you have in your arsenal that you like to throw?
I would say when it's a good day, I literally only throw 2 pitches, but I have 3 to 4. So.
What's your go-to strikeout pitch? It's the 3-2 count. What are you throwing?
Definitely a curveball.
We've seen that. We see on the live stream that it drops pretty fast.
Yeah.
What does your typical off season look like? Starting now until summer ball or whenever. What does it look like?
Well, I work full-time, part-time, but I definitely find time to jog, or I do push-ups. I work out. I don't really go to the gym, but I do home workouts and stuff like that to keep myself fit. I like to keep myself fit because I know that'll benefit me in the season. So definitely just push-ups, sit-ups, definitely crunches and stuff like that. That'll keep me ready to go because I love staying fit. That's what I do.
So, Christian, I have to ask you because I was with you when we went to the college series Phillies game. Mm-hmm. You had the opportunity to ask David Robertson advice for a young pitcher, and what he told you was to make sure you throw strike 1. Do you think that you did a good job at that this season?
After I spoke to him, yes, definitely. So back to my freshman year, I don't mean to bring it that far back, but I definitely, my freshman year, I did great. Like, that was my best pitching performance I ever had as a pitcher. And then in the start of this season, I wasn't really going to be a pitcher, but I knew I needed to be when my team needed me because we didn't have any. We had Quinton. Quinton's a phenomenal pitcher. I knew I had to match his greatness, so I had to pitch. So when he told me that, I brought it back here, and I knew that like I just had to do better. And when he told me that advice, like no matter how like simple that advice was, I did better. I definitely did better. I focused on and I locked in. So I definitely did better after that. That was a great piece of advice.
So you got advice from David Robertson. Now what can you give? What kind of advice can you give to the younger up and coming pitching generation?
Definitely the same advice he gave me. Definitely get ahead in the count. Strike 1 is the most important one. But definitely just focus up every pitch. Like, I know that sounds basic, but when you get on the mound, it's literally your game. Like, the game doesn't start until you throw the ball. And once you throw the ball, the play doesn't matter. Once the ball leaves your hands, you can't do anything about it, whether who's behind you or not. So, like, I definitely just believe focus on every pitch and just make that pitch your best pitch because there's no one better than the person on the mound.
So we got to see you play a few different positions this season. Would you say that you prefer pitching, or would you rather play in the field?
Well, I definitely think defense is the key. I definitely think that me being in center field was the best for my team, but when they needed me to pitch, that's also the best thing. I love center field, and they had me play shortstop as well this year, and I'm not really a shortstop. I like to say I'm a shortstop, but I'm not a shortstop. I like to just say that because I watch Quinton do it, and he makes it look easy, and I watch Cam do it because he plays every other position. But I do what I have to do for my team, so defense is definitely the most important thing. I would love to say that I would just like to be a center fielder, but whatever I need to do, I do.
You know, I had a conversation with your mom during one of your games, and she hates when you're a pitcher because it freaks her out. She's scared. Yeah. You know, does that ever go through your mind when you're on the mound? Like, the ball could come back and hit me. Like, does that ever go through your mind at all?
Definitely. Well, the game you guys didn't cover, we had an away game at Bucks County College, their community college, D3. I had a line drive hit back to me, the fastest and the scariest thing I ever seen in my life, and I caught it. But literally, the ball looked like a beach ball, and I thought I almost lost my life because it would have hit me right in my face. And I caught it, and I turned a double play because the guy was running. He thought it was a for sure hit, and I got a double play. But after that inning, it took me like 2 innings to really think and like get my mind back on track. It was so scary. It was the scariest thing as a pitcher.
Was your mom at that game?
No, she wasn't.
You're
but
lucky.
Yeah, definitely. She's been scared to watch me pitch ever since I was in Little League, though.
Knowing that we got to live stream some of the games, did that happen to affect your mindset at all, knowing that you were playing on camera?
I wouldn't necessarily say it affected me, but like kind of did. Like when I know that there's like as an athlete, I like to perform, and when you perform, you want to perform good for the crowd. So when it's live streamed and you have a whole bunch of people watching you, you want to do your best. So when I have Professor Miller and you, Dylan, and you, Tyler, watching, and my family and other players' families watching, I want to do my best. So it's just like I got to do what I got to do, and I want to perform my best. So it's top of the line performance every single time.
As we close out here, here's the question that I really have for you, Christian. Can you hear us when we're calling the game?
I only hear you guys. Well, when I'm pitching, definitely not, because
What about when you're at bat?
I'm locked in. When I hear you, the only time I hear you is when I walk up, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Like, I definitely heard you guys say a couple things about me when I was walking up to the batter's box, and that just...
All nice things, of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But it makes me perform better, so...
And it's funny because I never ask anybody, but I remember something I said when Gabe was up in the middle of an at-bat, and he stepped out and started laughing. And I'm just like, I'm trying not... Like, I don't want you to hear me, but we literally are 2 feet away from where the box is. Now, when we were in the press box the last game, we're enclosed, so you definitely couldn't have heard us then. But when we were on field 2, there's no way. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, they have to hear what I'm saying. So I just was wondering that. Christian, thank you so very much for joining us. And seriously, thank you for another great season. And, you know, it may not have went well record-wise, but you have to be proud. You made one of the greatest catches of the season on camera. I mean, it was really something special to get to watch you, especially when you were on pitching, man. It was really, really awesome that I was able, and we were able to be out there and be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, we will be right back with pitching superstar Quinton Heckard. All right, everybody, we are back with the Nightly News Podcast on the special edition as we wrap up the baseball season. We've so far spoken to Connor Graham, Gabe Arellano, and Christian Fulp, and now we are going to be talking to arguably the team MVP, the USCAA Player of the Week, and the Central Penn College Player of the Month, Quinton Heckard. Quite a list of accomplishments, sir. Welcome to the show. I'm going to turn it over to Dylan.
How are you this fine afternoon?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So everyone knows that you're the star pitcher, Cy Young-like pitcher, and if you were in the majors with these numbers, you'd be up in the talking for Cy Young, right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so for the podcast viewers that don't know Quinton, let me just read his stats real quick. He had a 2.93 ERA. His batting average against was a 2.38. He had a one-hitter, no-hitter versus Bucks County, which we'll come back to later. He was 3-2, 5 complete games, 2 shutouts, 44 strikeouts, and he averaged just over 9 strikeouts a game. Those numbers, what do you have to say for yourself? Like, where do they come from?
Those are pretty good stats. You know, I just go out there and try to throw the best game I can every day. And I just try to take control of the game, you know. Like, when I'm pitching, I realize that's my game. So I just do whatever I can to, you know, get up on the hitters and you know, strike them out or get outs.
Did you listen to David Robertson's advice that he gave to Christian, throw strike one?
I did hear that. That was good advice. That's what I tried to do all season, and I did. When I was throwing first strikes, that's when I had my best games. Like Clark Summit, almost every one of those batters were a first pitch strike. So that's how I ended up striking 13 kids out that game.
And how many pitches do you have, about, give or take?
I throw 4 pitches. I didn't really use my changeup that much this year, but I usually just throw a fastball, slider, and 12-6 curveball.
And if one of them's not working, which one normally is the one that's not working?
Sometimes my 12-6 isn't as sharp, so I just have to throw my slider most of the time, and it usually works well.
And you had Paletti behind the plate. How was it working with him as a catcher?
Paletti was one of the best catchers that I've ever thrown to, honestly. His framing and his pitch calling was really good the whole season, so it's definitely a load of confidence with him behind the plate.
So now, I mentioned earlier the one-hit, no-hit against Bucks County. We've heard all throughout campus it was a no-hitter
Yeah.
last week. Now this week we've heard it was a one-hitter.
Yeah.
Which one is it, and can you walk me through that game?
See, when I was throwing that game, there was a ball hit to Christian, and I thought it was a hit because the kid he beat it out. It was a bad throw, so I could see how they could say it was an error, but I thought he beat it out, and it was in like the third inning. So like from the third inning, I thought they had one hit the whole game. But my goal that game was just to not let them score. It was a 1-0 game, so if they crossed the plate, it would be tied. We would probably go to extra innings, maybe lose because I wasn't pitching. But it was still a great game. Nevertheless, it was no hitter, one hitter.
So then, what was going through your head in like the bottom of the ninth when
The
the whole rest of the team thought you had a no hitter when in your mind you had a one hitter?
Okay, so I walk in the dugout in the sixth inning, and they're like, he doesn't know. So I'm like, what don't I know? And no one answered me, so I was like, okay, maybe I have a no hitter. And I go out in the seventh inning, and I strike out the side, and I wasn't really sure that I had a no hitter, but Christian ran up to hug me, so I was like, okay, I guess I threw a no hitter. Yeah, it's like 7 innings.
This is my last question. I'm going to pass it over to Tyler here. When you're on the mound, let's say bases are loaded or there's 2 runners on, what's going through your head? Like if there's only 1 out, what's the first thing you want to do?
The first thing that's going through my mind is I want to get this kid myself. Like I don't want to have to put the pressure on my defense to make a pressure play in the infield or outfield. So I really go for the strikeout and see what happens from there. Maybe I'll get a pop up or a ground ball. I got out a few jams with bases loaded this year. It's pretty exciting. It's one of the best feelings you can have.
Probably feels better than a one hitter, right?
Yeah, it does.
Hey, Quinton, great to have you on the podcast today. To piggyback off of the start that Dylan was just talking about, we as a club, we got to cover the home opener for the Knights that you pitched. The weather was just terrible. 30 degrees, raining, cold, and yet somehow you still managed to pitch a spectacular game. Can you kind of walk us through how you managed to do that?
See, when the games are that cold, you're always kind of excited to pitch because you're always moving. It keeps you warmer than the rest of the kids that are just outstanding in center field or shortstop. So I was happy that on the coldest game of the season I was pitching. It was actually so cold that during the end of the game, I actually started feeling cold, and it was the first time I felt cold when I was pitching. I really couldn't feel my fingertips, so it was like really hard to throw a strike in the last inning. And that was the inning I walked like 3 people probably and gave up a run, but I still got the W.
So is it safe to say that with the statistics that you put up pitching-wise this season, did you reach the goals that you set for yourself personally?
When I make goals, I usually make it team-oriented because winning is basically the only thing that matters. I didn't really make any personal pitching goals. I just wanted to get wins for my team, and the season didn't really go as we planned, so it's not like I failed. I still did well, but, I didn't really make personal goals on the mound for myself.
We got to see you play a few different positions as well. As Christian pointed out, you played a really good shortstop. Did you prefer playing in the field or pitching as well as you did?
I came to Central Penn so I could pitch and both play in the field. So whenever I'm out playing, I don't ever take it for granted. I'm just loving what I'm doing, Just playing baseball is a blessing, being this old, so, I don't really prefer one over the other.
Did you say old? You're like 20 years old.
I am 21, but a lot of people at this age don't get to play baseball, so it's definitely a blessing.
So what can we look forward to from Quinton for next year?
Look forward to, hopefully I hit a home run. I just want to hit a home run before college ends. That's really what I want to do. That's usually my only personal goal is to hit a home run. I tried this year, it didn't happen. So hopefully next year I'll get a dinger for you guys.
A dinger out of the park or inside the park?
Out of the park, definitely.
Have you hit an inside the park home run yet?
I never have hit an inside the park home run.
'Cause you're pretty fast too, so.
Yeah, I think I hit a triple last year. I didn't get any triples this year though.
So now that you want to hit a home run next season, what's your off season going to look like?
My off season, I just started running about a few weeks ago. I run every day, and I'm still going to be playing baseball this summer. So,
where do you plan to play baseball?
I'm playing at Lawton, our old home field from last year.
And who do you plan to play for?
I play for it's called Twilight. It's a Twilight league, so I play for Lawton Twilight.
Are the rest of the guys playing, like Cam and
They're playing for different teams. Some of them are actually playing for the West Shore. I play on the East Shore, so we won't be able to see each other.
And are you like the Cy Young star pitcher for Twilight too?
I'm definitely in the rotation for Lawton. I'm definitely a starting pitcher for them. Not sure if I'm the ace or not.
So, would you have any advice for young kids hoping to pitch at the college level someday?
I would say just work on your craft every day. Practicing every day is really important, especially when it comes to like your arm strength and health. You got to keep your arm healthy, and just take advice from people that know what they're doing, because they're probably right.
Whenever your career ends here at Central Penn, do you still plan on playing baseball?
I'm not sure that I plan on playing after next year's season. I'll probably still play in the summer. I don't know when exactly my baseball career will end fully, but I'm not really worried about baseball after college.
So most players on your team don't even watch baseball. They don't even like to watch baseball. They don't even like a team. You have a favorite player or a favorite team that you like to watch?
I like the Yankees. I haven't really watched them that much this year. I haven't really watched them much this year, but I like seeing. I like watching the Yankees.
And have you ever tried to craft your pitching style after another Yankees player?
I actually tried to craft my pitching style after Tim Lincecum, because that was one of my favorite players. So I kind of try to pitch like him. He was a legend.
You gonna grow your hair out like him?
It actually is in the process of growing right now.
How do you think the live stream has affected your play throughout the season?
Oh, the live stream was great. It gives you motivation to just play well. You don't want to be on camera making errors or playing terrible. So knowing that you guys were filming me and commentating, I just wanted to do well for the school.
And did you ever hear us when you went up to bat? Did you ever hear Miller saying anything?
Yeah, when I came up to bat a couple times, I heard my batting average, which wasn't really good to me. So that's what I heard. I heard my statistics that were below par a little bit.
So with the up and down season that the Knights had this year, what is the biggest thing that you're looking forward to for next season?
Next season, I just hope that we get some more pitching, because our hitters, we hit the ball well this year. Right up with the best teams that we played, we had as good as hitters as anyone. So if we get pitching, I think we have a good chance to advance in our season.
All right, Quinton, thank you so very much for taking time to be with the Nightly News podcast today. And I think I speak for everybody. We're sad the season's over. I had actually I talked to Gabe off air, and we're interested in maybe recording one of the games. If a few of the guys are playing with Enola, maybe plan on coming out and seeing you pitch over the summer. So I just need somebody to let me know when they're pitching, and we'd be happy to come out and continue to support you, because we know how hard you work and how much it means to you, and it's obvious when you're out there on the mound and in the batter's box and in the field that this is a game that you love. Not so sure about the Yankees fan thing, but we'll let you slide on that one. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. Special thanks to Dylan Kleintop, the Vice President of the Nightly News, Tyler Coleman. You guys have been there all season. I just want to put a thank you out there for all of your hard work with covering baseball this year. We accomplished our goal, so Tyler had asked everyone about accomplishing their goals. We accomplished our goal. We called every single home baseball game that the Knights had this year. Plan on not only doing that next year, hopefully maybe getting to a few road games. So we have some goals of our own, and we look forward to having both of you back for a senior season and hopefully making that Small College World Series. So thank you all for being a part of the Nightly News for this baseball season. All right, that'll be it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. We'll catch you again next time.